This is 7 National News, and in our top story, the Vice President and Prime Minister and ruler of Dubai, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, has stressed that the UAE, led by President His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, has become a global humanitarian leader and one of the world's most generous supporters of international humanitarian causes. The ruler of Dubai made the comments during the launch of the UN Humanitarian Financing Report to the United Nations Secretary General. Thanking the United Nations and its Secretary General for launching the report in the UAE, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed stressed that the UAE continues to establish itself as a global humanitarian capital, adding that this move shows that the international community has confidence in our state and its international humanitarian efforts in particular. The ruler of Dubai also thanked Mr. Ban for his sincere efforts in highlighting these international issues. And the UN report on international humanitarian aid has called for over $40 billion a year in aid for victims of conflict and natural disasters. During the ceremony, which was also attended by the ruler of Dubai, the Crown Prince of Dubai, His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Her Royal Highness Princess Haya bint Al Hussein, the wife of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, UN Messenger of Peace and Chairperson of the International Humanitarian City, and the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. The findings outlined that a high number of conflicts and natural disasters over the last few years have led to a funding gap of $15 billion despite the $25 billion spent annually to support 125 million people across the globe. The report, which was compiled by senior international development figures, is part of UN efforts for shaping the objectives of World Humanitarian Summit, scheduled to be held in Istanbul in May 2016. Speaking during the press conference, Ban Ki-moon stated that we are living in a world of mega crises due to the high number of money requested through humanitarian appeals.
This is an age of mega crises. 3 out of 4 UN appeals for humanitarian funding for more than $1 billion are in the Middle East and North Africa region. I count on our partners to build on their proud traditions of solidarity at these difficult times. Globally, the world is a shattering record we would never wish to break. We are seeing all-time high numbers for the amounts of money requested through humanitarian appeals, the amounts raised from generous donors, and scales of the global humanitarian funding gap. That is why in May last year, I asked the high-level panel of eminent independent experts to urgently seek solutions to the funding gap.
While focusing on the solutions, the report highlighted the importance of multi-year financing, an increased role of the private sector, as well as voluntary taxation on airline travel, fuel, movies, and sporting events to help raise the required funds. Additionally, panelists recommended adapting strategies similar to Islamic social finance, where Muslims donate around $230 billion to $560 billion annually as zakat, according to the report's estimates. Commenting on the financing requirements, and according to Kristalina Georgieva from the European Commission, stated that a gap of $15 billion in a world producing $78 trillion in GDP is not out of reach.
While people are suffering, we also have to generate the resources that are necessary to help them. We have identified a shortage of $15 billion to save lives and make it possible for people affected by conflicts and by natural disasters to survive. $15 billion is a lot of money, but our world produces $78 trillion every year. We ought to be able to find this missing $15 billion so nobody dies or lives with no dignity because of shortage of money.
With global leaders, policymakers, and the international scientific community gathered in the capital for Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, it was announced at the 6th Assembly, the International Renewable Energy Agency, the 4 countries will launch renewable energy projects with nearly 170 million dirhams in low-cost loans from the UAE and IRENA. The projects will produce nearly 12 megawatts of renewable energy and create jobs as well as power. The loans to Antigua and Barbuda, Cabo Verde, Senegal, and Burkina Faso are the first major financial commitments since last month's COP21 Paris Agreement on climate change. The money was raised by the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development and IRENA, which has its headquarters in Abu Dhabi. Antigua and Barbuda, the twin island state in the Caribbean, will receive 55 million dirhams for a 4-megawatt wind and solar project that will desalinate water, increase climate resilience, and cut CO2 emissions by 8,275 tons a year. Burkina Faso in West Africa will receive 37 million dirhams for a 3.6-megawatt solar PV mini-grid project that will supply energy to more than 12,000 families and cut CO2 production by 2,500 tons a year. A 48 million dirhams 2-megawatt solar PV mini-grid project in Senegal, also in West Africa, will supply electricity to villages and cut CO2 emissions by 3,200 tons a year. And finally, Cabo Verde, the Atlantic island archipelago off the coast of West Africa, will receive 30 million dirhams for a solar PV and wind project to provide 100% renewable energy for the island of Brava, cutting CO2 production by 4,665 tons a year. The UAE's Ministry of Labour recently approved 11 languages to be presented to workers within their job offers, labor contracts, and annexes, following the newly launched labor decrees that were implemented at the beginning of the year on the directives of the Labour Minister, His Excellency Sagar Ghobash. According to Labour Ministry officials, Arabic and English are the 2 main languages, in addition to a 3rd language that the applicant can understand. This applies both to workers coming from outside and those residing in the UAE that seek a new job or are required to move from one company to another. The other approved 9 languages are Bengali, Chinese, Dari, Hindi, Malayalam, Nepalese, Sri Lankan, Tamil, and Urdu, which have been picked according to statistics highlighting the highest number of workers using them. According to the ministry, adding these new languages helps to promote transparency between all parties on the terms and conditions of employment and their rights and obligations before coming to the country to resume their duties. Both labor contracts and annexes are available on the ministry's website, and workers can access these documents after filing in their nationality, passport number, and transaction type fields online. And a recent poll has showed a majority of 64% of respondents believe that all employees have a responsibility to be ethical in business, with 20% holding the company responsible for establishing a strong code of conduct. Entitled Ethical Leadership, Views from the MENA region, the survey was conducted by Bait.com and the Canadian University, Dubai, with a poll demonstrating that the importance of leaders' roles in setting the right example, creating an environment that encourages good corporate citizenship, and in motivating employees to perform better and more innovatively. Conducted across the region, this poll looked at a distinct type of leadership, or ethical leadership, where leaders are both normal people and moral people and moral managers. When asked to define what business ethics meant to them, almost half of the surveyed respondents held a legalistic view that business should be conducted according to the legal requirements and not breaking laws, while 37% related it to being socially responsible. When asked whether their managers make fair and balanced decisions, 43% of poll respondents said sometimes, while more than a third think their managers are usually fair in their decision-making processes. On a positive note, 70 38.5% of respondents confirmed that their managers listen to them, with 38.5% saying they listen to a large extent. However, almost a third of 29.5% hardly ever have the opportunity to be heard by their managers. And finally, in other news, the Dubai-based Knowledge and Human Development Authority has played host to its latest What Works event, focusing on the theme of gardening and how it has revolutionized various schools in Dubai in bringing home a healthy message with the student community. Addressing a gathering of students and educators from various schools in Dubai, the Director General of KHDA, Dr. Abdullah Al-Karam, stated that while STEM is traditionally an acronym for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math education, it is time to include art to STEM to understand how creativity is at the heart of innovation and also to interpret the world imaginatively. During his opening remarks, the leading educator, innovator, and social entrepreneur Stephen Ritz stated that as more and more kids around the world are facing obesity problems, it is time to use the abundance of nature by encouraging kids to plant more seeds and eat healthier food. Commenting on his own experience in a South Bronx neighborhood in New York, the educator highlighted that nature nurture has proven to be a game changer for kids of all ages, as it not only involves the art of gardening, but also encourages them to work together as a team. The receiver of a Global Teacher Prize, Ritz also emphasized that food and water are solution providers for today's emission problems, and optimum usage of these resources will once again help in creating abundance in nature.
My expertise really is people. I believe this is all about relationships. And what is Dubai known for? Innovation. So if you bring people who understand relationships together with people who have this hunger for innovation and the ability to really drive and be at the forefront of it with an overarching commitment to it, those possibilities are endless. This is an exciting place to be. I'm honored to be Steve Ritz, but I'm so excited to be Steve Ritz in Dubai because of all the resources and commitments here. The fact that I'm growing fresh food indoors all year long in significant quantity allows these kids to take them home. And if kids grow kale, they eat kale. And if you get them eating this at a young age, they like it, they crave it, they love it. And it's been game-changing. So my kids are really becoming wonderfully articulate about what they eat, what they want to eat, and knowing what they should eat, in addition to performing well in school. So I grow vegetables, but my vegetables grow healthy school performance.
This is our fourth year, and this year we shifted. In the previous 3 years, we focused on subjects like math and science. Today we taught themes, like, we had the first well-being, and we have now the STEM, and we have global citizen coming up. This is changing because this is going from compartmentalizing education to a more holistic approach to education. And that's very important to us. I think today when Steve gets us talk about urban gardening, it is great to have and it is wonderful, but he also shows the result from doing that to having academic achievement. Because this is not an extra time. This is fundamental, a time that you need for the kids to actually reach down, not only to their brain, but their heart and their interest and their curiosity. And there is a direct relationship with that to the academic achievement beyond and above the schools and the examinations.
Organizers attending the event highlighted that more than 45 schools in Dubai have already started implementing the concept of growing their own fruits and vegetables in their own backyards. As part of the event, the Student Projects Showcase area offers students from various schools an opportunity to showcase various innovative projects, including ways to reduce carbon emissions by introducing zero-emission cars.
We tried to reduce carbon emissions of the transportation area at least. So we came up with a car. It is based on Tesla models. Now what Tesla does is they power cars through renewable sources of energy. So what we thought of, we just innovated that idea and we thought about charging the cars as soon as they start to run. Now we have batteries for that and we have solar panels on top and wind turbines up front near the bonnet. So as soon as the car starts to move, the solar panels will power the cars to use with the sunlight, and the drag force that is felt by the car or the air resistance as it starts to move it will power the generators, which will give power to the batteries as well.
Our project is a phone cover that can fit any phone. We came up with this idea because we came across the problem that people, because of the rapid advancement of technology, people are constantly buying new phones and new tablets almost every year, and you have to buy covers for these phones and tablets. So we found that people are constantly repeatedly paying money for a function that they already own. So they already own that function, and we found that it was also an unsustainable waste of plastics. So the solution came up with is this cover that can fit any phone. It consists of 4 corner pieces that will all be bound to a central block by elasticated material. The 4 corner pieces will be able to stretch as far as needed based on the size of the phone. And the reason we've only chosen to protect the 4 corners is because when you drop your device, these are the 4 most concentrated points of impact. And that's the technique we use to also save material, because we're getting rid of all the unnecessary material.